We're going to jump right into it. So just real quick, those of you who don't know me, I'm Big Dave. I've been with Willoway for almost 40 years. So worked from every position all the way through. And I currently handle alignment. And what does alignment mean? Alignment means I'm going to find ways to bring you, our customers, some of the greatest plants out there. I'm going to help our operations team, our sales team, our inventory teams, all the teams at Willoway push these plants all the way through the process to get them to you. So I'm excited to show you some of the stuff that we have been working on behind the scenes that we're bringing out to the market with help from our partners. Speaking of partners, so here comes the first one. Abelia. This is brought to you by Proven Winners, and it's in the Deer Proof program, right? So this we're really pushing hard to expand this program. I think it's very important that we get more plants out there. Deer browsing, animal browsing is huge. It's a huge issue. We hear it from everybody. That's why we're putting effort to bring this on. So this Abelia here, we really like. It is fragrant. It has kind of a white flower starting out, and then it turns, pink. Um, and I think it's one of the better ones I've seen for Abelia. It definitely covers a lot better with flowers. Usually, a lot of Abelia will get a little bit of flower. This one here kind of goes up and down, blooms on the stem. Comes from their breeding program. Got to see these up in Michigan there in their trial gardens. They looked really good. So I think this is a great plant to bring on. We've had it in our trial garden here. It performs very well, very tough, very hardy. So Sweet Emotion Blaze. So bring that on. Next, Actinidia or kiwi. You know what? My least favorite fruit is kiwi.
No, Dave, it's my favorite. I
Kelly
like
says it's
kiwi.
her favorite. All right. I know there's a lot of kiwi addicts out there. So I'm real excited about this one, right? Because I hate bringing fruit to market where it's really complicated. Oh, you got to have a male and you got to have a female and you got to have this and you got to have that and you got to have the other thing. This one here, prolific, it really lives up to its name. You don't have to go through all that. It's a self-pollinator. It does it itself. It's ready to go. You just stick it in the ground and you're off and running. So that's why I really like this. I have lived the dream with probably a lot of you over the years. Heck, we've been trying to bring kiwi to the market for a long time. And this is the first one that's tried and true. It's going to produce fruit time and time again. Plus, it's also a solid zone four. So, you people up north there, north of Cleveland, Ohio, where we are, if you're getting up into Michigan, any of those other areas up in there, Chicago area, you're going to really like this plant. So, I will tell you that, any of these plants, if you plant them in multiples, you're going to get more fruit set. It's not that you have to have them for male, female. It's just the more flowers that are out there and actually cross-pollinating between two different plants really helps with the fruit set. So I would definitely suggest that. But, a new one out there, prolific. This is a solid zone four again. I like it. I think it's one you need to bring on. All right, Agapanthus. So Poppin' Star. Agapanthus has been around. It kind of, revolves around the Dutch bulb magazines and stuff like that. This one's coming from Concept Plants, and he's really been working hard on this one. I really like this one. It blooms really heavy. It doesn't get too tall. It definitely is not going to flop. That can be a problem with some of the old varieties out there. And then this one tends to almost rebloom, so it will keep sending up bloom spikes. You can actually see that in the photo. You can see those little cones coming up from the base, and they're going to shoot all the way up and pop open. So they look great. You can always deadhead trim them, although I find this one not really to need that a lot. It self sheds pretty good, so all you basically have left is a stalk and a little seed bunch, which the new flowers kind of cover up. So that's a real nice attribute as well. Um, Deep blue. It's got some striping and veining in it. You can see there in the blow up of the flower. So very, very striking. And I think it's got great bench presentation. So if you're going to have these on a bench, this would be an agapanthus that I would recommend for that setting. So make sure you take a look at this one going forward, Poppin' Star. And Kelly, I think that one we're putting through the Plants at Work program, aren't we?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. So
The next one here.
yeah, and then that's what made me think.
There you go.
So you have allium lavender bubbles. I used to hate allium, right? Because I would always look through the seed catalogs back in my younger days and see this giant allium bulb and this kid standing next to it, and the flower was always bigger than the kid. And then, we have varieties out there like Millennium, which is good, but now we're starting to get into a little bit bigger heads. They're not the giant ones, but they're getting bigger and much more showier. And every plant sends up multiples. You're not just going to get one flower. And this one here, lavender bubbles, it blooms and it blooms a lot and it masses. So you take like half a dozen plants, you plant them out there, you got a mass and you're going to have excellent color. They've also bred them to get a little bit thicker stems in them. Um, and that'll keep them from flopping. Solid zone for hardiness. It's going to get about a foot tall, which is good. You don't want them to get too much taller than that, or you might get into the flop. But they do spread, so they'll fill in an area really nice. Allium are great because they don't need a lot of water. They don't need a lot of care, really. I mean, these tougher allium out there, you can put them in poor soil. You can put them in different types of soil. The only thing you don't want to do is you don't want to put it in a flood area. But allium are very adaptable, and especially if you have homeowners coming in looking for these, looking for a plant, I kill everything. That person there would really do well with an allium, especially these new ones. So lavender bubbles, and it's in the Willoway exclusive Plants That Work program. So we'll be talking about that here shortly. On the flip side, we have our partners, proven winners. This comes from the breeding from Walder's Garden. And this is Serendipity. Got to see this one up there, also up in Michigan, where the breeding gardens are. Really liked it. Very tight bunches. You can't, if you're standing over top of this thing, you can't see the foliage, right? I mean, it's really cool how close and how tight the flowers come up from this. Again, a solid zone 4, very tough. It actually gets just a little bit taller than a foot, but it stays really tight and they kind of help each other hold up and it just when you look at it, it's not a plant that wants to try to flop. So they spent a lot of time on this one. Um, Again, all the same qualities, can doesn't take a lot of care, doesn't take a lot of water. Those dry areas, does need full sun, so you got to get it in full sun for the most part. I mean, it can take some partial shade, but if it's on the edge of some large trees or something like that, or a dry area, these will be able to handle that and give you the color. Plus, they'll handle heavy soils too. So, all right. Baptisia. So you're going to see a lot of Baptisia come down the pipeline here. I've seen some incredible breeding. This is one that we're going to start with here. Grape Escape. Um, again, proven winners, again, coming out of the Walters breeding program. Um, it's these new ones, the standard Baptisia, uh, when you look at it, you get a little disappointed, right, in midsummer because half of the leaves are gone on the bottom. So you're looking at sticks, and then you got some foliage, and then you got the flower. And if you can just focus on the flower, you got something there, right? But a lot of times it's hard for people to overcome those bare bottoms, especially when they're on a bench, right? Especially when they're in the garden center. With this new breeding, and this one here does a really good job of keeping the foliage closer to the ground. You're still going to have a little bit of a bare spot. We're not talking like a foot or more, like the standard Baptisia have been. We're talking about this new series of breeding, bringing that foliage, bringing those flowers closer to the ground, so you got a fuller plant, a nicer looking plant. I really like them now. It was always difficult for me to figure out how to work them into my plantings, but this one here, it's got a place. So, and then also when you put them up on a bench, they're going to look great. I think most people, when I see them in the garden center, they kind of stick the Baptisia way off to the side. But this one here definitely deserves some head of the bench space. So very adaptable, is typical late spring bloomer. And Baptisia are well known to be pollinator friendly plants too. So this is a great one. Grape Escape.
And we know that Baptisia lemon meringue is also perennial of the year.
There you go. If you
So,
didn't hear that, lemon meringue is coming up. It'll be is that for 26?
Willoway Sales just wrote Baptisia lemon meringue is the proven winner landscape perennial of the year. So yes, I
Okay.
believe so.
So yeah, Baptisia are coming in, so get ready for them. I think we have at least a dozen in the trial gardens that aren't even named right now. So we got some good genetics coming. So here we go again with the proven winners. This is from the color choice side. This one here is Sunjoy and Neo. So this is kind of a new one here. An interesting color, a little bit bigger leaf than some of the other Sunjoys, but still nice and compact. Um, it's kind of helping them they really want to broaden out different colors, different sizing for the deer proof program. So that's where this one kind of fits in. Um, Typical Barberry, hardiness, things like that, tough. It is not, it is not certified sterile, but they do list it as sterile, right? So if you're in a particular state that has restrictions on barberry, you need to be careful because some states will only allow certain plants if they are university certified. This one at this point is not, although they are working on that. So, but that's the only caveat to barberry. I think they'll eventually get there. Proven winners will. They're really taking this serious, and they spent a lot of money on starting to get these run through university testing. So, but a nice barber and excellent. I love the Sunjoy series because they are like bulletproof to bacterial spotting. If you're still planting the old pygmy type varieties and stuff, I don't know why you're doing that. Get on board with these new varieties. They are like bulletproof to that bacterial spotting, and that's the biggest problem I see with barberry. So why not get around that? Okay, Boxwood New Gen Liberty. So let's talk about the New Gen program. Let's get rid of all of the speculation and everything going on out there, and let's just throw it on the table.
Do it,
Okay.
Dave. There's so much.
I'm gonna do it. Here we go. So, and we're just coming back. Kelly and I are just coming back from the New Gen people, Saunders Brothers. We were down there visiting, a group of us were, and we got it straight from them. So New Gen still exists and it's still owned by Saunders. Proven Winners did not buy New Gen, they partnered with them. They are a collaborative partner, New Gen and Proven Winners, and they're coming out together. They're You're going to start seeing some of this not in 26 really, but in 27. The official big kaboom, whatever, is 2029. So you got a couple of years,
Yeah.
right? But right now, for this year, excuse me, you're going to see still the new gen pot, the new gen tag, all of that coming out this spring. We will start to phase into um, the new per winter pot, which will be the deer proof pot. So this will be run through the deer proof program. New Gen will still be in here. Their message is still in the background in that. And New Gen is going to continue to work on the breeding part of this, working with the breeders. They work with breeders all over the world. That is going to continue, and they're going to continue to strive to bring new plants to the market. They are working on some exciting things. Like, wouldn't it be exciting and great to have a boxwood that is resistant to boxwood tree moth? They are working on that. Nothing in the series right now is certified for that, but they have some really cool genetics that I got a sneak peek on that they are excited about, where the boxwood tree moth tends not to attack it. How about that? So there's some cool stuff coming on. I believe in the program. It is bulletproof for a lot of the diseases out there. And also, the big thing about new gen boxwood, they are highly resistant to leaf miner, which in most cases is what leads to boxwood decline, uh, cylindricadium with the boxwood, volutilla, other diseases. They go, "Oh, I got boxwood blight." No, you probably have leaf miner, and then the leaf miner stressed it, and then anything can take it out. So I think leaf miner resistance is probably the biggest issue that doesn't get a lot of press because people confuse that with boxwood blight. Anyways, I'll get off my new gen soapbox, but there you go. Um, the program's still here. It's still strong. It's going to go. It's going to morph over the years, but it's still going to be there. So this was the latest one, Liberty Bell, into the series. You can see here from the right, it's kind of a lot more compact, lot smaller leaf, slower grower. Um, it's kind of, a more ball shape to it. I really like this one because it can actually do well in some low light situations. So if you got a little more shade in the yard, I wouldn't put it in deep shade. But what I thought was cool with it was it does handle shade pretty well. A lot of boxwood, you put them in shade, they really go downhill. This one here, that's why we have it listed as uh, part sun to shade. Okay, that's kind of cool. Um, and also the small leaf leads to a little bit different look. Um, it's a good zone five. I wouldn't push it hard on zone five, when you're getting towards 4 or 5, you got to be a little careful maybe with it. Um, but what I've seen in the trial garden out here, it hasn't gotten any tip burn, so that's a good sign. So, anyways, great plant, Liberty Bell. Um, you should, if you're really into the new gens, you should bring this on. If not, make sure you get some new gens in this spring. All right, this is an inside joke, but Big Dave's favorite plant is ice plant. Big Dave loves ice plants. So Delosperma, and we have had a tremendous interest in this plant for this spring. So they are selling fast and they're flying off. Ice plant's been around for a long time, right? Um, but it's even though its name says ice plant, it's not particularly really cold hardy, right? But these new varieties are. So we're getting into the zone fives now, and we're bringing on even more breeding, where they're going to be just a little bit tougher. Walters, to my excitement, is really pushing hard on these. This plant is fantastic. If you haven't really grown a lot of these, you really should, because there isn't a time of year where this thing isn't blooming and isn't looking great. It's a carpet type of plant. It's going to spread on the ground. It can handle this is another one of those plants where if somebody walks in and says, I kill everything, you get them an ice plant, right? Because they don't require a lot of care. They don't require a lot of water. It can handle hot conditions, cold conditions, you know, whatever. It's a tough plant. I put these in containers, I put them in the ground. The flowers are really cool because they're photosensitive because they close up in the evening and then they open up in the morning again. So it's a really cool plant and they do load up with flowers just like the picture there. So if you haven't tried them, don't confuse this ice plant with some of the ones that you might have seen in the box stores. Okay. Those aren't the same thing. These are bred for hardiness, and we're going to be very selective on the ones we bring in. You do have to be careful because there are a lot of ice plants out there that are like zone seven or six. Everything that we're going to bring on is at least zone five hardy, and we're going to keep pushing on that hardiness. So, and as far as the bench goes, you're not going to get anything better for bench presentation. These things are fantastic. So, Dianthus, oh my gosh, not another Dianthus. Well, yeah, even Big Dave says more Dianthus after I saw Everbloom. You may be familiar with Everbloom series, but this one is just striking. The colors are neon. You can see it from a long ways away. And it continually blooms, and its foliage is very dark. So you get that dark foliage with those neon colors over the top. Wow, fantastic. Its repeat bloom, forever bloom is great. That's why we like this plant. I believe this one's going through the Plants That Works as well. I think. Yes.
No,
No?
nope, black pot right now.
Black pot. Okay.
Mhm.
So we'll look into that. We're always looking into this. Anytime we have a new one, we have to get the okay from the breeder. But my intention always is anything that's not in a program to really try to bring it through the Plants That Works program to give you a little more, the garden center or the landscape, a little more exclusivity to it. So um, I don't have to talk a lot about Dianthus. It's got all the great things with Dianthus. It seems to self shed a little more. Dianthus get those little poofy pods on them when they're done, the seed pods, and then it kind of looks ugly. This one self sheds a little bit, but still, I would recommend a light shear to get better repeat blooming. But check these out. Great series. Okay, some figs. So we got some more figs coming on. We're really pushing hard on the fig side. There seems to be a lot of interest. There's like a fig cult out there for people, so that's great. I like figs. I think they're interesting. The only disappointing thing is a lot of times, they die down to the ground or close to the ground and they come back. This one here, still we're going to call a zone six. Its root is going to be hardy for up north, but can it die back? Yeah, I think it probably will. It seems to be a lot tougher. This one here is a giant. It's the first one that we brought on that did well in the garden. It really gives you those great big figs. These are like commercial size figs. And it performed well and it set fruit very well. So we like it. I think that there's a place for figs. Right now, it seems to be kind of a niche kind of market, but we thought this one deserved a chance out there. Really cool branching too, very dark branching on this one. So in the winter, it kind of has some interest, and you can see the branching through the foliage. So I like the look of that. And then another one. This one is uh, I'll stick my pinky out when I say it, Valette de Bordeaux. So there you go. So obviously this one is French. It comes from France. They have been working with this one for a very long time. It was brought into the US and goofed around with. So um, we're running this through Plants That Works. We were able to run this through the trial gardens. It did well. Still, it's a fig. But I think this is the toughest fig we've brought on. This one probably is going to wind up deserving like a 5A classification. It's probably the first one we've seen that could drift into the five. Definitely a solid zone six. I would not worry about this at all in zone six. And zone five, I think this one would be good. And I'm not saying it's going to die back down the ground. I'm saying it's going to survive as a small tree or shrub. Um, as long as don't push the extremes of the environment, I think you'll do well in zone five. So um, it's got a really good flavor for the fruit, kind of that figgy flavor. Brown turkey and stuff. I don't know. I don't know if brown turkey. I don't really compare that to like commercial fig flavor, but this one here, I got to try it. It actually reminds you of that, that fig paste flavor. So there you go. All right, grass. This is one of those plants that we had out in the landscape. And every time we took people around, they had to throw a flag. So if you've ever gotten to come here, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you need to come here because we have at any one given time like 400 plants in our trial gardens that are nowhere in our production nursery. We are evaluating them and we're constantly bringing new stuff in. So if you come here and visit us, we'll give you a stack of flags and you get to throw a flag and something you like, and we collect that data and information and we use it to bring to production the next round of new plants. And this is one that people kept throwing flags at. The picture does not do it justice. It really is a smoky rose. It's a rose colored and it has that smoky plume. Um, Excellent clean foliage. I hate it when we get rust in grass. That's the first turn off for a grass for me. I don't care how nice the plume is. I tell them to rip it out, throw it away, and try again. This one here has excellent clean foliage. Well, I would call it very high resistant to rust. So, and then the plume, you have that panicum type plume. Excellent. And there is a whole series of these coming through the Dreamcatcher series. We're pushing these through Plants That Work. I think you're really going to like them. I think they're game changers. These are grass that get a little bigger, but not huge, but they're going to get you to that, oh, I don't know, 2 to 3 foot height, and they'll be very neat, uniform. They don't get out of hand, but just the colors that are coming out and the plumage coming out, fantastic. So take a look at that one. Okay, some hosta. The first time I saw this, I went, ugh, why would I want that? Well, they were little tiny things when I saw them. And then after I got to see them in the landscape like this here, and then after I got to see them bloom, that is the hidden gem to these. This first one here is called Silly String. The name is catchy, it's fun. There's a whole series of these. I think people buy into the name too. But when these bloom, these new thin leaf breeding ones, when they bloom heavy, and the blooms are shorter, stockier, and they bloom late, which is interesting because you can actually call this a pollinate. Most hostas, for the most part, they bloom a little earlier. And at that time, other than bees, there really isn't butterflies or anything. When these bloom, they're blooming at the time when you have monarch butterflies and things like that out there. We got to see them in the gardens this year, and they were fantastic. Boy, were the flags flown. It wasn't on Silly String, but it was the other one. But there's a series of these that we're looking at. Great blue-green color. Um, it's like bulletproof for Virus X. It's got a lot of cool stuff going on, and that's why it's in here. It attracts hummingbirds and other things. Normally, you don't think of that for a hosta, but these you can. So give them a try, get them in there. They're fun names. So we got Silly String here, and then we got Wiggles and Squiggles, which is kind of a limey green with a little yellow mixed in. Same thing, it's going to bloom. And now it's got, yeah, it's a shade plant. Yeah, it has this, but it can also help with the pollinators. Also it's got the interesting texture and shape way more than a standard hosta would. So give them a try. They're bulletproof for hardiness too. And I think these on a bench will be fantastic. Where a lot of hosta you get one or two leaves on it and it kind of looks rough on a bench when they're small, and then when they're big they look great. This one here is going to look nice and full in the can. It's going to be an excellent plant. So all right, so Incredible Stormproof. So there was confusion on the name. I'm not going to say the other name because I'm going to confuse you. So it is called Stormproof. So this is coming through the Spring Meadow Breeding through Proven Winners Color Choice Program. And I got to see this plant twice, and both times, I don't know if they set this up, maybe they did, but the nights before were horrible thunderstorms, high winds, lightning, heavy rain, the whole thing. And then I got to see these the next day, and I got to see some of the other breeding they had flat as a pancake. And these things look just like this photo. Matter of fact, this is the photo from that trial garden. Um, the stems are thick and strong. They are not going to flop, and the flower count is unbelievable, and the flower size is unbelievable. That picture is exactly what you're going to get. And I can tell you that a lot of times you see pictures and then you see the real thing, you go, that was a little bit of bait and switch, but that is not what this is. So it does bloom on new wood, which is great. So you don't have to worry about that. The same great things that came out of the Incredible program. Now, we always have competing programs out there. So some of you might be familiar with Flowerful, right? Flowerful came out a year ago, and Flowerful, I think, is excellent too. I think Flowerful is an excellent plant. We are growing both. We're going to be limited on Flowerful. We have Stormproof, I think, for spring. Probably the difference is Flowerful has a little bit darker foliage to it, and maybe the flower isn't as big, where Incredible has the same color foliage as Incredible did, and the flower is huge on Incredible. But both of them mass with flowers, they stand up. You're splitting hairs to pick between the two. So that's that. All right, got a macrophylla. So this is Dream Cloud. This one was getting a lot of buzz at Cultivate this year. So People were really looking at that there, really talking about it. So, we brought this one on. Um, it does get a little bit of pink in it, just a little. But for the most part, it's pure white until the flower is almost done, and then that's where it gets the pink. And it's not really the flower. There are certain flowers out there, you see it in dogwood sometimes, that get a bacteria that grows as the flower is decaying, and that bacteria shows off as a pinkish color. So it's kind of different, but when the flowers are in their prime and they're pink, they're pure white, masked, very stocky, very sturdy, very upright, presenting. You don't have, this is not an interior bloomer. This is right on the top. So Dream Cloud, we like it. It's in the Endless Summer program. So give that one a try. All right, so everybody says, "Oh my gosh, Dave, not another paniculata." Yes, I have another one for you. And I had to ask my partner in crime, Kelly, I go, "What the heck is a French manicure?" And she rolls her eyes and has to tell me what a French manicure is. Now I get it. Okay. So you have a two-tone color, and I've really got to watch this plant over the last 2 years, and it literally gets to a point and it stops. It does not keep changing color up the flower pinnacle. It just changes color on the bottom, and the top stays white all the way through till the flower is done. I've never seen a flower do that, right? Usually the flower will just keep, the petals will keep changing, and not this one. I've actually threw a couple on my desk and they dried on my desk just like that, perfectly dried. I think it deserves a place in the landscape. Nice plant, mid-range type of growth, but it's compact enough where it's not going to flop, strong stems, uh, great looking plant. I really like it. I hope that you can make room for it. French manicure, and that one there is in our plants that work program. All right. Uh, Gatsby, so glow ball. Like this one. I like, this is another inside joke. I like any oak leaf hydrangea that is not Alice. Okay. So let's compare these to Alice. Alice, its biggest problem is um, bacterial leaf spot. I mean, Alice has been a standby. It's been around for a long time, but the bacterial leaf spot can get a hold of that thing and it can cause havoc. Glow ball has excellent resistance to any kind of blight or bacterial spotting. Great green foliage color, great flower power to it. You can't go wrong with this one. It has, it presents foliage all the way down to the ground, which is another thing. A lot of times Alice will tend to get a little woody at the base. This one here does not do that. So this one will be in the Proven Winner program. Great addition to add. Another one is Ruby Slippers. Now we've had this for a little bit, but I wanted to show this again. Another plant, we've had this for several years now. Not a huge amount of time, but long enough to know through production, it is really tough on bacterial spotting, on any disease. So it is excellent. So it starts out pure white and then turns into these deep, deep reds. So I really want you to take a look at these two. Plus, we have others out there, and we are also bringing on a few more new ones. We really want to stir up a revolution. Um, Alice really served its time. We're going to keep growing it, right? I'm not going to tell people what they should have, but I am going to give you options, and these options have been proving to be excellent. Hyssop. So hyssop. Uh, you're probably going, you got to be kidding me, Dave. Hyssop's been around for I don't know how long. right? Because you can hyssop tea. Hyssop cures anything. If you have anything that ails you, you take that leaf and you grind it up and it will cure you. You know, it cures everything. It knocks out bursitis and whatever else you got going on. So,
Nice.
but this is not your grandmother's hyssop. So this is some new breeding. Walters was able to grab a hold of this and push it through the Proven Winners program. These flowers are like 4 times the size of the old hyssop. Um, the plant is fragrant, but it's actually the leaf, right? It's not the flower. The flower really doesn't have fragrance. It's the leaf. Remember, hyssop's in the mint family, right? I mean, it doesn't have a minty scent per se. It kind of has a sweet scent to it. But you can still take this one and make tea or whatever you want to make out of it. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about flower presentation, usually hyssop, very sporadic bloomer. This one is not. It's got a lot more bloom count to the foliage. It definitely presents a lot of times hyssop interior blooms. This one presents a lot better with a lot bigger flower. And the color they got on this one, fantastic blue. Wow. This is just short of a neon color that just begs you to walk up to it. Excellent plant for pollinators. It's very friendly to that. Very tough plant, easy to grow. This is another one of those, if somebody goes, I have trouble in my garden, head down towards this. So we're going to see some more hyssop come down the line, but this is one that we really like. Okay, this one's been out for a little bit, but we've finally been able to get production up enough where we can start pushing some nice threes out there. So this is Montana Moss. This is coming to you through the Proven Winner program. It is a chinensis, but it does not look like a chinensis. It really has that cedar type of kind of foliage to it. Very interesting, very soft foliage. Not your typical juniper foliage. So, and it is a blue green. So I think there's a lot of use out there for a plant like this that when you start getting to those bluish tones, I think that we're kind of limited on that, right? We just have a few options. You have Blue Star and Gray Owl, but this one gives you a little bit different shape, a little bit different texture, and it can get you into those blue tones. Very tough, nice hardy plant. Has excellent disease resistance, so you don't have to worry about tip blight on this thing. So make sure that you're giving this one a try. So this is a little bit different. This is a new one. This is coming out of Johnson Nursery, and this comes from the breeder Michael Yanni. So he is up there in Minnesota and North Dakota, planting these things out and really putting them through the ringer. We brought this on, and I have been shocked. I will tell you, this plant is fantastic. This plant has the growth rate of a green giant arborvitae. It grows, and that particular picture there, that's not trimmed. That's how it grows. It really fills in, and it has a fast growing rate, and it really pushes a central leader, which is everything that you want. And guess what? Where Mike has these planted out there, he has heavy deer pressure, and they've annihilated plants near these. They won't touch these. He is like, he's usually kind of conservative on this stuff, but he's like, score of 1 to 10. We're really pushing close to a 10, is what he's telling me. So I am super excited about that. It's called Star Power. It is a cross. It definitely has Chinensis blood, but there's some arguments out there of exactly, is it just Chinensis or does it have a cross? So The powers that be in the great juniper world are out there arguing that, but we're just going to call it a cross for right now. That's the way Mike wants to proceed forward with it. But solid zone three, that's the other thing. You don't have to worry about the green giant issue. We all know we had some issues with green giant. You don't have to worry about with this. This thing is tough, hardy, bulletproof, deer resistant, and it will attack that issue of I don't want to have to look at my neighbor anymore, right? We all know that we need plants like that, but we need them to be tough. This is a great one to bring on. It caught me by surprise. I didn't think it would perform as well as it did. All right, Lacanthium, dream big. So yep, daisies, daisies, daisies. This one here was brought on to really for the flower count. It's not going to flop. It's not going to fall apart. It presents foliage all the way down to the ground. Its disease resistance is really well. So I think that this one is a great one to bring on. We've had a lot of daisies come online over the last few years. This one here is the latest one to come out. It did very well. Our initial little offering we sold through real quick. We think you'll like this. And again, this one here has great bench presentation, right? Because that's half the battle. It needs to look good on the bench, and this one will. All right, this one's kind of wild. Some of you may have seen it. Maybe you never have seen it, right? This is one of my favorite plants when I put my plant geek hat on. So this is Alanacera, and it's called Kinsley's Ghost, and it's in the Proven Winners program. You can see the photo on the left is the start of the immature flower, and then the right center, I guess, is when it really matures out and it gets that powder blue look. To get the powder blue, they have to be in full sunlight, right? If they're in too much shade, they'll stay green, right? So it needs full sun to really get that. And then it gives you that eucalyptus look, right? You're like, what does that look like? It looks like a eucalyptus, and it is a true vine. Okay. The photo in the center, hopefully you can zoom your screen in a little bit there. But what that is, it's just a round piece of fence that they put in the garden and they let it grow up all over it. It made like a cylinder thing. I thought that was the greatest thing I ever saw. So you can grow them on a trellis, you can grow them on a fence, you can make a cylinder looking dude out of them, very adaptable. Um, it's very hardy. And I think there's a lot of uses for this thing. It seems to be have good soil adaptability too. I have a couple of these in my yard. One I purposely tried to torture to death, and the other one I really took care of, and they both are the same. Um, Looking forward to a more mature plant this coming season, but we'll have limited numbers on these. Are they on a trellis or a stake?
I believe there'll be a trellis.
Trellis. So they'll be on a small trellis. We'll have small plants coming on here, but I think we'll keep bringing these numbers up. So keep your eye on that one. All right, fruit snacks. These are columnar type apples. There's been series like that. One a long time ago was called Colonnade. The tree grew right, but the fruit tasted horrible. So yeah, that kind of didn't work. So this one out here is the fruit has excellent flavor, excellent taste, and it does fruit heavy. That photo is not a lie. It's very possible. This is one of those where you probably have to knock off immature fruit to give enough room for fruit to fully mature. So uh, kind of interesting. We're not going to grow a huge amount of these, but really lean towards that small garden. And then you got Golden Treat, which is pretty neat. And yeah, so we got those two that are coming out, and take a look at those. So Metasequoia, we got Urban Spire. So we wanted to throw this in. Kind of has a golden color to the foliage. I think very unique. Really can work in some of the specimen gardens, some of those kind of areas. It's really a statement plant. Um, and Metasequoia, at least the newer varieties, are very adaptable. I mean, you can plant these things in super heavy, ugly, urban soil, and that's where the urban spire comes from. So they can tolerate just horrible soil conditions. So that's kind of really cool. And the specimen we have out here in the garden looks fantastic. Nepeta. So you might have saw this, but cat's pajamas. So I originally brought cat's pajamas on because I'm like, people love these names, so they're going to buy it just because of the name. But look at that thing. It really surprised me. It Most Nepeta interior bloom a lot, and you see just as much foliage as you do bloom. This one is different. This one presents its blooms extremely well on top of the foliage, almost to the point where you can't tell it's a Nepeta until you get up and you spread it apart to see the foliage. That was surprising to me. So hats off to the breeders at Walters on this one. This was a great pick. And again, I think the name is going to make it a winner. And also, when you get a plant like this that presents like that, I think bench color and presentation is going to be fantastic. So pretty much all the rest of the same attributes as all the other Nepeta out there. It is deer Nepeta is deer resistant, so I think that's a great thing as well. So some peonies, garden candy, double pink. So these are tree peonies, the Ito varieties. Just want to show you real quick. And some of this I'm going to go through real quick. But we are recording this, so you can always look back or you can reach out to your salesperson. All That Jazz is another one from the Garden Candy series. There's other ones in the series, extremely tough. Zone 3 and Flower Power is fantastic. Remember, these are Ito type tree peonies. These are going to be a little more expensive, but I think they're well worth it. Purist, Passion Party. Passion Party's been out for a little bit on the East Coast. We brought it on. Very disease resistant, does very well in the landscape, much better than most of the purists out there. That's why we brought it on. Solid Zone 5, blooms pink, does get a little bit of color to the foliage as well on the new growth, but we think that you should really take a look at that. Persicaria. We're starting to get a little better with Persicaria. Fleece has been around for a while, but this one here is a really cool two-tone. It's got lime green with the just dark red flowers. So an interesting looking plant to bring on. Slow Mound, some of you got to know this pretty well. This one's coming from Isley from their breeding program. This is not a graft. This is a technical cutting. It's very difficult to root this one, and it is slow. So you have to be patient with us. We pretty much ran out of our first offering. We're pushing real hard to get another offering for summer. We're not going to have them for spring. But I really think this is the way that the market's going to go because straight Mugo NC, they just get too big over time. But this one will do what you want. I wanted to throw this in. We had this for a year, but it just really caught me off guard. This thing is probably still blooming out there, but this thing bloomed all year and it was striking from a distance. It self sheds extremely well and then pushes new flowers out on the stalk, and the stalk just keeps going and going and going. I was very pleased with this plant. So this is in the Flame Pro Series. So this one here is Baby Doll. Love that. And I'm not a pink flower guy, so that was great. Got some ornamental peaches. So you can see here the flowers are huge on these things. but it's about the foliage for me. This deep purple foliage, and this is a columnar. Uh, this is a Corinthian rose here. And then you also, the leaf will turn green towards the inside, and that's the time where it really shines when you have new growth that's dark purple and the old foliage is turning green. That two-tone color is fantastic. Yes, you may get some fruit on it, but it is not really a good tasting fruit. So I wouldn't grow this thing for fruit. It could get fruit, but and I don't think it's going to get enough fruit where it's a nuisance at all. You might get one or two here and there, but it's not really a big deal. But it's about the foliage and it's about the flower. And then there's a pendula in the series. That's this one here. That's the flower, but it gets the same purple foliage. Um, and it's a weeping peach, so it's pretty cool. One that you can get fruit on, which was fantastic, is easy as pie. It's a bush cherry. First bush cherry that I've seen that doesn't get whole shot so bad that you got to throw it away. The foliage stays clean and it loads with fruit. It is, the flavor of a sour cherry, right? But it is that cherry flavor. You can make pies, you can do preserves with it. It's a smaller cherry than what a tree cherry is. But this is one of the first ones I've seen that produces enough fruit. Like that plant there would produce enough fruit to make a couple of nice looking pies. So that's pretty cool to have that on such a small package. Very tough, extremely tough, zone three, zone four tough. So I really like this one. Rhododendron Holden's Pink Flare. We have the whole Holden series. So this one's, we like Pink Flare. That's probably the best in the series, although the other ones are great too. So we worked with Holden Arboretum on this one. We just wanted to talk about it real quick. It has all been about disease resistance, Phytophthora resistance. They do old school breeding at Holden Arboretum. They're on the other side of Cleveland, or well, other side of Medina, basically. But very tough. They purposely infect them with Phytophthora to try to kill them, and then they select out of that year after year after year. Great program. Rudbeckia, Treasure Trove, Black Eye Susan. You all know Black Eye Susan. This one here I like because it will not flop at all. It loads with flowers. The flowers are, the petals are very thin on this one, but it probably has twice the amount of flowers as a regular Black-eyed Susan. So definitely worth calling out. Salvia Dark Sky. This is probably one of the biggest salvia you're ever going to see. Um, it's called Living Large. This one here gets up to my hip, but it's going to be pushing 3 feet. Very tall, very cool in the landscape. So the foliage is very short, and then it's all flower. It's like almost 2 feet of flower. So great looking plant. Hopefully, you can bring that on. Sarracenia bug bat. So pitcher plant. So we were goofing around with these. We figured out how to grow them. We got the first batch and we just blew through them. People got so excited about them. We're sorry we don't have them for early spring, but we will have another crop of them ready for next summer. I think this is a great plant to have for garden center sales in the summer. Um, Brings a lot of interest, a lot of interesting things. We'll talk about that in the future. Pure Joy, I wanted to give a shout out here. Pure Joy should be the sedum that you go for. This thing starts blooming early and it blooms and blooms and blooms all the way to frost. Way different than Autumn Joy. Autumn Joy can tend to get floppy. It really doesn't bloom till extremely late. Pure Joy stays more compact. It gives you that huge flower mass like Autumn Joy does, but it's a stunner. So make sure you're looking at that. Styrix, Stairway to Heaven, Snowbell, nice looking Styrix. Sorry, I'm gonna go through some of these. Solidago. That's a plant that a lot of people don't use, but the flower count is way more than what it ever has been. So some of this tough nugget one, I really like it. It really starts to look like something, and it sheds its old flowers. It self sheds, so that's kind of cool. Um, Syringa Ballet. This one was striking, mostly because of its upright habit. The photo shows that pretty well here. It's very upright presenting, very uniform, very neat plant. So, and the flower is great, and it is a rebloomer. So take a look at that one. Private jet. So private jet's been out there for a couple of years, but if you had issues with arborvitae, with hardiness over the winter, private jet should be one that you bring on. It is extremely tough. So make sure you talk to us about that. And then we have a new one, Sasquatch. So it's dark green. It is uh, we were working with a breeder up in Canada on this, and then Proven Winners picked it up, which we liked, because they can get some national exposure. Very tough, very central leader. And a lot of times Occidentalis can seed heavy. That's what the breeder was working on. The breeder worked on getting it so it's sterile, not so much worried about invasiveness, but the seed pods can be so heavy it can affect the look of the plant. This one here won't set those heavy seeds. So and with that, you get a nice plant, but you get the super toughness for winter hardiness of that. Vaccinium berry bucks, right? So everybody's talking about alternatives to boxwood. That's kind of what this is all about. The berry bucks, pushing it as an alternative. So it's interesting. We've been able to get our numbers up. So you got the flower, which gets those bell flowers, kind of greenish white bell flowers, and then you get edible fruit, and you can trim it up just like a little boxwood hedge. So kind of an interesting concept that we're going to push on. All right. And just real quick, I wanted to talk about the Plants That Work program. Um, so you're going to see our tag change on the Plants That Works, and we're putting a QR code on there. That way, people can use their phone in your garden center, and it will take them to the Plants That Works page. And the Plants That Work page is just information only. We're not trying to sell. It doesn't say anything about Willoway. It just talks about Plants That Works. And so we wanted to give that to you, our customers, as a tool to use with your customers, the end consumer, so they can get more information about these plants we just showed you. So they'll be able to hit that QR code with their phone, pull it up, and they'll be able to get all kinds of information on ideas, things like that. So we hope that you use that.
So Dave, we want to run through just a couple questions we got. Melanie asked about the boxwood tree moth with the um, new gen. She says they're having trouble selling a boxwood in Hamilton County in the Cincinnati area.
Sure. So yeah, box tree moth. There right now, today, there is no boxwood, and if somebody says there is, they're lying to you. There is no boxwood that is impervious to tree moth. So I think that what we're going to find is that Korean type boxwoods, which there are very few on the market anymore, are probably have resistance to it, right? Which makes sense because the tree moth came from Asia. So those boxwood over time would have developed a resistance to that. So I think that's where probably the breeding's going to head. But for right now, if you have somebody that's super concerned, you're going to have to work on alternatives. The alternatives are going to be short on the market. Everybody's rushing to them like Ilex glabra, things like that, Ilex crenatas. So my advice to you is if you can find glabras or crenatas, you should be buying them like yesterday. Don't wait. But and we're talking years on the boxwood. We're probably talking 5 years before there is a commercially viable boxwood that has some kind of resistance. So for right now, that's what we got. Best management practices are to educate people how to look for them. They're super easy to kill. When they're adults, they are real easy to kill. Any over the counter that a homeowner can buy at any store will kill it. It's just you got to be watching for it, and literally they can defoliate a boxwood overnight. So if you catch them when they start and you spray it, you're good. You're good for a whole nother year. But if you miss it over a weekend, you don't look at it for a week, and then you see that all the leaves are gone, it's too late. So that's the one good thing is it's extremely easy to kill. The one thing is you got to be looking.
Okay, so another one asked, Charlotte asked, how's the self-seeding of that hyssop? The
How,
hyssop.
yeah, that one there seems to have fairly sterile tendencies, so that's kind of a plus for me. That's what we really watched really close. So I don't think it's going to get out of hand. It's I cannot call it sterile, but it doesn't seem to produce a lot of viable seeds.
Okay, and then Ryan Bates asked, he said that it's great to see the juniper taking over. There you go, you're gonna be on now.
Okay.
Um, hang on. That the juniper's taking over, but he asked then also about black knot fungus, like the other prunus on the easiest pie. Does it stay clean?
So far, so good. I don't know if I can give that a huge thumbs up, but I will tell you, whole shot has been the biggest issue for us here, and it seems to be very resistant. They did call that out, Proven Winners did, saying that that was a big part of their breeding, and they don't see issues. So that's all I can tell you.
All right. So I want to thank everybody for joining us for our first ever new plant webinar. I don't know, you can see me kind of. We truly appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I know we went over a little bit. We're going to be sending out a survey shortly with the recording and some of the slides from our meeting. And we really appreciate your feedback. It takes a minute. Let us know if this was helpful, if what we can do for other webinars and things like that. So thanks again for being here, and we can't wait to continue to grow together. See ya.
Thank you.